What is the world that we're living in now that we know we're not spinning? What is the world? What is the world that we're living in now we know curvature is missing? What is the world? What is the world that we're living in now we know flat earth is winning? What is the world? What is the world that we're living? It's like a brand new beginning. We know that most of y'all sitting there wishing, probably just itching for us to go away, completely dismissing things that we say like our minds have gone missing. Meanwhile, you're really the only one shifting reality as if it was switching, like it was some type of fantasy pitching. Next up the bat, but you wind up just whiffing. Nothing but air, you just can't do no hitting. Running around saying that water's sticking to outside the balls, your logic is slipping. I understand that you might think I'm tripping. Pay attention to the words that I'm spitting. Only thing that really needs any fixing, your view of the world and the way that you're thinking. No need to go always screaming and kicking. No reason to think that Earth might be tricking. If it was spinning, then we would see drifting. If it was curving, the ships would be sinking. Logical fallacy, keep on insisting. Probably just listen. How about you try some form of consistence? Ships disappear due to angular distance. Makes a lot more sense that the curve's non-existence. Why the persistence? Why the pursuit of unending resistance? Fighting a war like a soldier enlisted. Really seems as though you got it all twisted. Why not just be a bit more optimistic? Lies you've been told, the veil has been lifted. Now you've been gifted, given permission to take a position, not in opposition to the world that we're living. Key ignition, start up the engine. Choose to accept it, now this is your mission. Tell us why the damn curvature's missing. Maybe just call up a mathematician, give him a listen, have him tell you about his presuppositions. Talking about how it's not superstition, a vacuum and air pressure juxtaposition. Make a decision, tell us how this model came to fruition. You have the right to enact your volition, right up to the day of mental acquisition. All I could do is provide ammunition. Can't take the heat, stay the fuck out the kitchen. Judgment day or to the last demolition. You can see this as an act of attrition, on the condition that after admission, do you a favor and start the forgiving. Then go out and share your newfound position with everybody who's potentially victim, falling for the global prisoner system. So many flaws, no woman can list them. Shout to my beautiful parents, I missed them. Taught me to think for myself, I could kiss them. Now to the day that I'm able to whisk them away in my arms, I will reminisce them. Yeah.
Thrust causes lift, lift causes tilt. You know, so you can't, it's impossible, because they fly in a horizontal line with their nose slightly above horizontal. So it's impossible to fly around a curved surface. Their only claim is that they hold an altitude. So what? If that altitude is equal around the surface of a globe, then you will have to correct constantly for the curvature. Not just drop, but curvature.
So does this not reduce down to the argument over what is flying level, being a level curve or a level straight line?
Well, I cover this.
Can't be a level curve.
Yes,
yes, please, Adam. I've got you presented. Yes, please.
Okay, I'll do my best to bumble through. I've not read this in a long time, but I obviously asked the same question a while ago. How does a plane behave in level flight is the first thing. And the first thing you consider is, look, there's the plane. You can see that's the familiar angle. The pitch of the plane is one thing, look, but the direction of travel of the plane is the yellow line, and this is what's called straight and level flight. Straight and level flight is kind of. Let me switch the slide. There we go. It's achieved generally, and when I did this, it wasn't these little planes I was researching. It was a passenger plane. So what I then did, the data analysis with an accelerometer on. But straight and level flight is described as generally the plane's at a 2 to 3 degree upward incline. The nose never angles down during flight. Altitude is lost generally by reducing this angle a bit or reducing speed, which decreases the upward thrust also a little bit. Basically, a slight tilt backwards is usual for normal flight. Now, I took a load of data and accelerometer data on the middle hour of a 2-hour flight and recorded it, and it showed nothing. It was between 1 and 3 fluctuating, or 1 and 4. But it never went into the negative. It never went and tipped over. Now, the reason Brian's describing that is it's important, because if we're flying a plane across a level plane, everything's absolutely fine. Nothing changes. And I'm going to use the term direction of gravity. i.e. what is down. If we are flying in a straight line path vector generated by the gyroscope within the plane, then that is a straight line vector. And that's what the plane's flying on. Now, underneath the plane, on a flat plane, you'll see, look, as we go across the surface with the vector there, the vector's one way, and down at the beginning of the journey is exactly the same vector as down is in the middle of the journey and down is at the end of the journey. If we are on a curved Earth, then as we begin the journey, and at the end of the journey, actually the direction of down in relation certainly to the gyroscope fixed within the plane changes. It keeps it say it would require tipping over. If you see here, look, by the time we get to the end here, we do have a different direction of down. Now this would have to be, as Brian's saying, would have to be compensated, and after 1,000 kilometers the angle of direction of down would have changed 9 degrees. So what would that feel like to the passengers on your ball Earth as you're traveling? As they go, look, there's a different direction of down, but we've defined via the gyroscope in the plane that this is a straight line vector the plane is flying on. So it is not changing its orientation. What's changing underneath is the Earth. Now this plays out in a number of impossible, nonsensical ways. That being, you can either feel that the passengers would be tilting back in their seat because the plane would actually start to take a realistic position, like with the yellow arrows across the ball Earth. These are the results, but that's the point. You would have to have a forward tilt to reorientate to negate the effect of the ground reorientating itself and redefining down if you were on a ball, because that would be a consequence of traveling across a ball where down is defined in a specific way in relation to the geometry.
So what you're saying is the plane flies along a tangent straight line and it's not following the curve of the Earth.
We know the straight line is straight because it's defined by the gyroscope, within the plane stuff. So it's taking its straight line path and the vector it flies across from the gyroscope. That's what maintains it. It's not drawing or referencing the Earth as any part for its flight other than altitude. But in terms of its position, that's defined by the gyroscope. That's why they set them up, isn't it?
Yeah, sorry, Adam, I go after you.
How would Wolfie respond to this in his, remove his bravado out of it? What would he say?
But Brian's expanded on this topic and is essentially calling out Wolfie for his lack of supporting evidence for the claim that he's been making without any substantiation for the better part of 4 years. As I say, go and subscribe to Brian's Logic. He's an excellent YouTuber. I've been Nathan Oakley and enjoy the video.
It's called Lift Force Debunks the Globe Model. This would be a very simple argument that any flat earther can use against anyone in our opposition, on our opposition side, regardless of who they are. Okay, Wolfie 6020, as you all know, is the most well-known pilot on our opposition side. Debunks the globe model through his profession due to the effect of lift. I'll explain. Lift is created by thrust initially and can be added to or just controlled with the elevators at the rear of the plane. Lift begins and has its center of pressure about 1/4 way back from the leading edge of the wings. Thrust causes downward force on the airplane's tail, which tilts the nose pitch up. Turning the elevator upwards will also cause this effect, as does the fact that the center of pressure is just under the leading edge of the wings. So what is the common denominator here? The common denominator here is that all three things, thrust, elevator and center of pressure, can and will cause pitch up of the nose of the airplane to above 0 degrees horizontal, which in turn causes the effect known as lift. But to fly around a globe Earth, you must pitch down the nose of the aircraft to below 0 degrees horizontal on a consistent basis. But this in turn negates all lift force, as lift is only possible when the wings of the aircraft are above 0 degrees horizontal and not at any other time. Okay, so let's have a quick look at angle of attack. Right, I try to keep this very simple as much as possible. Okay, angle of attack. We come down here. When it's at 10 degrees above horizontal, there's a horizontal line here. When the chord line is the line going through the center of the wing, is above 10 degrees above horizontal, you have a lot of positive pressure underneath here and negative pressure at the top of the wing. Okay, so when it's at 4 degrees, which is the normal cruising, most aircraft to be being 1 and 4 degrees cruising altitude, you have the pressure here, just about a quarter way back, from the front back about a quarter way, positive pressure on the underneath of the wing and negative pressure above. So the faster flowing air above creates a lower pressure, and the slower moving air below creates a higher pressure. So high goes to low, and increase in entropy. So what happens is when the chord line is below horizontal, so here it's -8 degrees below horizontal. As you can see, that's all negative, right? It's all negatives here. So it's negatives. There's only some positive on the top corner here of the wing, but there's all negatives underneath, so there is no lift. So when the chord line is below horizontal, it negates and takes away the lift. So there is no lift when that is happening. So as you can see here, this is 0 lift line. This is when the chord line goes too high, it causes a stall. So there's no lift when it goes too high above horizontal. But also, excuse me, this is when the chord line goes below horizontal. Here, as it shows, the chord line is below it, and that's a 0 lift line again. So when it goes too far up or too far down, too far above horizontal, it causes no lift. But also when it goes below horizontal, it causes no lift. Right? So you can't have lift if you're dipping the nose of the plane. Right? It doesn't work. That's the whole point of the argument. So to go around a globe, you have to dip your nose below horizontal. There is no way around it. But to fly an airplane, you have to fly with your nose, or with the wing, let's say, not even negate the nose, just the chord line of the wing has to be above horizontal. But if you're flying around a globe, the chord line will have to be below horizontal. So it's impossible to be flying around a globe if the chord line is going to be below horizontal. It's just impossible. Okay, so here we go to angle of attack systems and displays. Okay, when the aircraft, this is more so aimed towards jet fighters, but it's the same thing. So when they're flying slow, there's a very, very high angle of attack. Okay, slightly slow, there's a high angle of attack, not very high, but high. On speed, which would be kind of cruising, there's an optimum angle of attack, which is a couple of degrees above horizontal. And slightly fast, it's about a degree above horizontal. And fast, then you will have it about horizontal and below. The reason you have to fly with about horizontal and below horizontal, if they can, to go fast, is because thrust causes, as I said earlier, thrust causes a downward force on the tail. So that will tilt up the nose. So the more thrust, the more downward force on the tail. So they have to negate this downward force by bringing the nose down. They'll probably have to use the elevator for that. And that's how they'll bring it down. But they have to, well, the more thrust they add, the more pitching of the nose that will happen. So when they fly fast in a jet fighter, let's just say, they have to bring the nose down. Otherwise, they'll hit a stall. That's the basics of it. But they can't fly, like if they want to fly it, like if they want to keep lift, they can't go too far below either, because they lose all lift. So it depends on what they want. Okay, so here we are again, another angle of attack display. This is some of the displays here that they show. You have, this is the HUD display. They're showing how slow is a high angle of attack. On speed, it'd be kind of cruising, be an optimum angle of attack. Majority of all distances are done at cruising altitude. All commercial airliners fly at a cruising altitude at what's known as on speed. So they're going to be flying for hundreds, thousands of miles with their nose above horizontal. And when they fly airplanes fly fast, they have to bring the nose down. Now, jet fighters might be a little bit different from big airliners because they're a bit more maneuverable. Like a big boat and a small boat, a speedboat can do a lot more maneuvers in a small amount of time and small space than a big boat can. So maybe the jets can nose down a bit more with safety and whatever. But in general, at cruising altitude, the optimum angle of attack is always above horizontal. Okay, next one. So you have slow, it's 9.3. I think that's 9.3 degrees above. Slightly slow of 8.8 to 9.3. On speed would be kind of cruising, they have 7.4 to 8.8. This is the Super Hornet. I think this is a jet of some kind. I could be wrong about that, but it sounds like a jet, a fighter jet. Slightly fast would be 6.9 to 7.4. 6.9 to 7.4, and fast then it'd be 0 to 6.9. So for a jet, so the more speed they have to, the faster they want to go, the more they have to bring the nose down, because thrust will cause the downward pressure on the tail, which will cause the nose to pitch up. So when they want to go fast, they have to bring the nose down. But on at normal speed, which will be, let's say, cruising altitude speed, let's say for a commercial airliner would be 450 to 600 miles an hour. They say an average of 5 to 550 miles an hour would be, that'd be on speed. It would be about 2 to 4 degrees, normally around 4, I think it is, above horizontal all the time. So now this is the red line. This is the chord line here. There is, red line, there is negated to no lift below the red line. So when the chord line starts going below this red line, this is the chord line of the wing. When it goes below the red line, there is no lift, right? All lift is being negated to no lift. The pressure starts to come on the top of the wing here, as opposed to the bottom here. It's normally here, but when you start bringing it below the chord below the horizontal line, it starts up there. So it's impossible to fly a plane, a commercial airliner, which flies the furthest. I mean, they fly further than anything that I'm aware of. It's impossible to fly them all around the world, from place to place, and at thousands of miles for hours at a time with their noses above horizontal. You know, they can't even fly for a mile. They can't even fly for a mile with the nose, with the chord line below horizontal, because they'll have no lift. They'll end up going into the ground. They have to have the chord line above horizontal. They have to. So even the B-52 bomber, which is designed to have its nose below horizontal, their chord line still has to be, because it's designed with the wings. The chord line of the wings still has to be above horizontal for it to fly horizontally. That's the way it works. That's what lift is. So lift completely debunks all claims that people are flying around the globe Earth. Just to finish, and not to rub salt in the wounds, just so people know, here is Wolfie 6020, and this is what he said back 5 years ago, and he still makes this claim. Like a lot of pilots do, they don't really seem to understand that what they do makes it impossible to fly around the globe. But this is just a short clip of one of his videos.
Travel around the Earth. So if we imagine this aircraft is going to travel all around the Earth, it would obviously have to pitch down and pitch all the way around 360 degrees. That's logical, right? But how long does it take to do that? It takes 48 hours.
So there is Wolfie, who's a pilot, stating that. I don't know what to say. It's like they follow an altitude. That's all they do. You'd have to do the same thing on a flat Earth. It won't make any difference. You'd have to follow an altitude. But to fly around the globe, you'd have no choice but to have your chord line below horizontal. And you know, you'd have to have all the corrections there, all the data for all the besides all that, you'd have to have the data and evidence for all the corrections you'd have to make for the drop and the curvature. But you can't do any of that because you can't bring the chord line below horizontal without losing lift. So you'd be falling out of the sky. You wouldn't make it up into the sky without lift, and you would fall straight out of it if your chord line is below it, or you'd be heading down to the ground pretty fast. Okay, thanks for watching.
That's not, no, the ground looks to us like it's standing still.
Did you notice any curvature while we were up there?
No.
No? What'd you see while we were up there?
Just the blue sky, white clouds.
Yeah, is it flat or?
Pretty flat.
Pretty flat?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I was reading a lot of stuff on the flat earth.
Okay, yeah. True.
That's true?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, cool. All right, God bless, brother.
Did you notice any curvature while we were up there?
Curvature? No.
No? There's no curvature?
It's just all flat.
Casey, how are you, mate? Pleased to meet you guys. There's no way there's curvature. We're round and flat, aren't we?
Definitely.
We are, aren't we?
Flat as a
Thank you.
Flat as a pancake.
You could probably see the Rockies from Kansas.
Wow.
But here it's a clear day, but if it's smoky or hazy, obviously we can't see much.
The world is so generous in its beauty, and you do your best to take pictures of it. It's just flat and gorgeous.
25 years later.
Hier in Australië. En dan is, want dit ding behoudt zijn stand, dus dit blijft blauw en dit blijft bruin. Het is niet zo dat we opeens omklappen de verkeerde kant op. En dit was voor mij dat ik dacht, oh man, waar heb ik dat nooit eerder gezien na 25 jaar in het cockpit? Dus zo geïndoctrineerd zijn we dus allemaal. Ja, het is gewoon heel vervelend. Het is gewoon heel vervelend. Dat je daar al die jaren naar hebt gekeken en dat het kwartje nooit is gevallen. En ook zeg maar, toen ik eenmaal wist dat de aarde plat is, dat je naar buiten kijkt en dat je denkt, waarom heb ik nooit gezien hoe plat het eigenlijk is.
What is the world? What is the world that we're living in now that we know we're not spinning? What is the world? What is the world that we're living in now we know curvature's missing? What is the world? What is the world that we're living in now we know flat earth is winning? What is the world? What is the world that we're living? It's like a brand new beginning. We know that most of y'all sitting there wishing, probably just itching for us to go away, completely dismissing things that we say like our minds have gone missing. Meanwhile, you're really the only one shifting reality as if it was switching, like it was some type of fantasy pitching. Next up the bat, but you wind up just whiffing. Nothing but air, you just can't do no hitting. Running around saying that water's sticking to outside the balls, your logic is slipping. I understand that you might think I'm tripping. Pay attention to the words that I'm spitting. Only thing that really needs any fixing, your view of the world and the way that you're thinking. No need to go always screaming and kicking. No reason to think that Earth might be tricking. If it was spinning, then we would see drifting. If it was curving, the ships would be sinking. Logical fallacy, keep on insisting. Probably just listen. How about you try some form of consistence? Ships disappear due to angular distance. Makes a lot more sense that the curve's non-existence. Why the persistence? Why the pursuit of unending resistance? Fighting a war like a soldier enlisted. Really seems as though you got it all twisted. Why not just be a bit more optimistic? Lies you've been told, the veil has been lifted. Now you've been gifted, given permission to take a position, not in opposition to the world that we're living. Key ignition, start up the engine. Choose to accept it, now this is your mission. Tell us why the damn curvature's missing. Maybe just call up a mathematician, give him a listen, have him tell you about his presuppositions. Just talking about how it's not superstition. A vacuum and air pressure juxtaposition. Make a decision. Tell us how this model came to fruition. You have the right to enact your volition right up to the day of mental acquisition. All I could do is provide ammunition. Can't take the heat, stay the fuck out the kitchen. Judgment Day or to the last demolition. You can see this as an act of attrition. On the condition that after admission, do you a favor and start the forgiving. Then go out and share your newfound position with everybody who's potentially victim. Falling for the global prisoner system. So many flaws, no woman can list them. Shout to my beautiful parents, I missed them. Taught me to think for myself, I could kiss them. Now to the day that I'm able to whisk them away in my arms, I will reminisce them. Yeah.